Hello everyone, I'm teacher Janelle, the founder of CalibreMath Learning Centre. Today I will be sharing with you some important tips that you can do to help prepare your child for primary school. Now I know that the transition from preschool to primary school is an exciting journey for many parents and children. There are many changes as your child takes his or her first step towards formal schooling. This guide is specially compiled for parents with children entering P1 next year, but it would be equally relevant to parents with children in K1 this year too. So now let's take a look at some of the common concerns that parents have. Now very often I get these questions from parents asking, how do I prepare my child for primary 1? Are there any topics that I can teach them or that they should learn in advance? And how do I know if my child is ready for primary 1? The best preparation I would say is, firstly, letting your child know what to expect in primary school. And then secondly, being there for them, acknowledging their feelings, no matter big or small, and encourage them whenever necessary. Thirdly, cultivating a good learning habit from now. And lastly, planning a consistent work routine. So what are some of the expectations that they should have about primary school? You could first start by introducing them about the school environment, like talking about some of the facilities that the school has that might interest them. Like for example, there's going to be a big soccer field for them to run around and play. And then there will also be the canteen where they can get to choose the food that they want to eat every day. And then there's going to be the school bookshop that they can get to buy some stationery. I believe some children, they're actually quite excited about buying things themselves. And then there will be a school hall where they will gather for morning assembly. And other than that, you can talk about having some new friends and teachers. And I believe for most children, the class size will be pretty different from the class size that they have in preschool. So letting them know all this helps them to be mentally prepared. And so when the time comes and they are in the environment, they are not intimidated and they can learn how to cope with feelings of anxiety. And then secondly, I think many children will be very keen to know about the timetable, what time they need to be in school, and then what time they will get to see mommy and daddy again. So letting them know the timetable helps them to build up some expectations about what's going to happen in school. And then thirdly, I believe for every school there's going to be class and school rules. So letting them know what are some examples of the school rules will help them to be mentally prepared, as in what are the things that they should not do in school. I believe you could find more information about this in the school website. So you could run through a few examples with your child and let them know, oh, we're supposed to be punctual for school. I believe this will be something that they need to get used to, waking up on time and reaching school before the specific time. And then I think for younger children, they tend to need movement break. So let your child know that they may or may not be able to move about so frequently in class. So if they really need to use the toilet, they can ask the teacher politely for permission to do so. And then lastly, having a new routine. So it will be good to let your child know the time that they need to wake up and as I say, like what time school ends. And then every night they will need to check or every day after school they will need to check if there are any homework to be done for that day, and then packing their bags before bed. I'm sure many of us agree that it is a major transition from preschool to primary school, so it is critical that as parents, we take on a supportive role to offer encouragement and assurance to our children whenever necessary. Being in an unfamiliar setting may cause some children to feel anxious or scared, whereas some children, they just feel excited about going into primary school. So no matter what the feelings are, it is perfectly normal for your child to feel anxious, and it is also normal for your child to feel excited about it. And it is also important that we need to give them space and time to adjust, because some children, they might take longer time, whereas some children, as I say, they may just be okay after attending primary school for a day. So long as you see that the situation is not getting worse, say for example, in day 1, your child takes 15 minutes to say goodbye to you, but as time goes by, your child is still finding it hard to say goodbye to mommy or daddy, but the time that they take is getting lesser and lesser. So then you can see that they are trying their best to, get used to this. So encourage them and give them time, and there's no need to rush through this, because some children really need more time to be mentally prepared. And from now till the start of school, spend some time to discuss about their concerns if you have not already done so. If they have any concerns about what's going on in school, you could help to address them if it's possible. Or if you actually have an older child who has attended the same school, or that they have been through the same process, you could get them to share about their experience, how did they manage to cope. And when your child asks questions to that older child, it might probably help to ease off the tension a little, and give them some positivity about that they are not going through this alone. And after they have entered primary school, you should definitely still continue this routine about discussing their day with them. Probably getting them to share about what's one positive thing that had happened in school, or if there were any unhappy incidents that happened, and you can get them to talk about it. So by doing so, when you acknowledge their feelings and by listening to them, it makes them feel that you're being there for them, and you're being very supportive, and that it gives them the strength that they can overcome this because you are being there for them. So some children may need more assurance than others. It is normal. So depending on your child's personality, so offer assurance to them and encourage them that eventually they will be able to get used to this routine and that things will get better. Next on, we'll be looking at what makes a good learning habit. The first point that I always share with parents will be the habit of reading from left to right and tackling questions from top to bottom. Now, this is something that is very important, especially from young. Even though in lower primary, the instructions tend to be short and concise, but it doesn't mean that the information given inside is just only one or two. So for example, I have a P1 question here. Crossed out the third rabbit from the right. Now, if your child does not have the habit of reading from left to right, he or she may start reading from third rabbit from the right. And then they may assume, oh, I'm supposed to circle it, or I'm supposed to color it. So instead of guessing and assuming it, we must get them to read the questions carefully, cross out the third rabbit from the right. So then from there, they will be able to understand that there are 3 pieces of information that they need to watch out for when solving this question. And then the next one, which is solving questions from top to bottom. The reason why I would advise so is because we wouldn't want your child to miss out any questions, because if they tend to skip questions or they choose questions that they want to start with, there might be a tendency that they forget to go back to those questions that they have skipped, or they don't even know which are the questions that they have skipped. So that's the reason why I would suggest so. And another reason is because we want to build up a systematic habit and approach in handling information, especially when they go up to upper primary, where the question contains many pieces of information. So if they have a very clear thinking process, it will help them to understand the question better and give them the confidence to tackle those questions. And second point, allocating time to read and understand the questions. As I've mentioned previously, it is important so that they do not miss out any important information that is given. For example, as they move on to higher level in upper primary, the question will contain more information. An example will be like, form the largest 5-digit odd number from the digits below, which is lesser than 6,000. Now, it may seem easy, it's just a one sentence thing, but there are many pieces of information given inside. Your child will need to extract the information that is largest and that it's a 5-digit, because sometimes they might give you 6-digit and they want you to choose 5 digits from it. And then odd number. If your child does not know what's an odd number, they might not know how to go about solving this. And then lastly, the fourth one is that they want a number that is lesser than 6,000. So for children who are not so strong in their thinking process, they might get intimidated by such questions because they don't know which information to start with. So from young, if we give them the habit of processing information systematically, it will help them to understand the question better, and hence they will be able to have the confidence to solve those questions. And the third point will be inculcate the habit of understanding what the question wants instead of rushing to solve the question. Because sometimes after doing practices for so many times, they might know, what they are supposed to do when they see this kind of question. But as I say, the instruction might vary a little. So it is important that they have the habit of understanding the questions, because so that when they move up to upper primary, they will continue to have this system inbuilt inside them when they are solving more complicated questions. And for the fourth point, we want to encourage your child to ask specific questions. This is a very important skill, especially as they move on to upper primary. Even in lower primary, this is an important skill set, because they might have the tendency to tell you that, mommy or daddy, I don't understand what the question is saying. I don't understand everything. But in fact, probably what they don't know is, what is an odd number? They might have forgotten what is the meaning of that. So when they have the technique of asking specific question, it will help you to clarify their doubts better, which will actually be an important skill set in school especially. Lastly, focusing on the process instead of the end result. Now, getting the correct answer is important, of course, but the process of getting to the correct answer is more important. So we want your child to understand the entire thinking process instead of just focusing on whether they have gotten the correct answer or not. Now, why do I say so? It's because if your child has understood the concepts that are used in that question, or that he or she is able to tell you what are the concepts that they're going to use in that question, then you can be sure that the next time that they see a similar question, they will be able to solve them. So we want them to have the ability to tackle similar questions in future and not just being able to solve this question itself only. This will help them to become independent learners and in turn achieve more competency in the subject. Last but not least, having a consistent working habit is very important, and it should start from young. So how can you help your child start a consistent working habit? First, you can designate a fixed workspace for your child. It will be good to set up a fixed desk for them to do their work if possible. And then keep the desk simple and neat, because having a neat desk helps them to manage their distractions and enables them to focus better. Then next on, from now or nearer to the start of school, you can sit down and have a discussion with them to plan a week schedule. So they can tell you what are the activities that they would like to do after school. And then you can also insert those activities that needs to be done, like setting aside some time for their work or the revision, or setting aside time for them to pack their bag before bed. So after you have discussed about the activities that needs to be done, then you can insert them into the different time slots. Let your child have some say in the planning of the schedule, because after all, they are the ones that are executing it. So when they are more involved, In the planning of the schedule, it also allows them to take charge in their own learning, and then it also allows them to be more willing to execute it. By having a fixed routine, it helps them to know what to expect next, and it also helps parents to minimize conflicts with the children. Okay, because they are the ones who have agreed on the schedule. So you can remind them that, hey, we have discussed about this, and we have planned that this is the time for us to start doing some work. So we'll need to stop what you are doing for a while, and then we need to start doing some work. We can come back to our playing later on. For some children who are still not used to doing some desk work, it's okay, you can start now. Start with something small, probably something simple, or an activity that your child is interested in. So get your child to sit down on the desk and set aside a time, probably like 5 to 10 minutes, for them to complete the assignment. So you can be there with them, encouraging them or guiding them what to do, because maybe at the start they don't know how to go about doing it. So then after that, if you observe that they are good at focusing for that time frame, then you could extend the duration. So generally speaking, for a 7-year-old, they should be able to focus about 15 to 25 minutes, some children even longer. Remember that this is a gradual process and it's going to take time. So some children might take longer to get used to having a routine and a schedule, but if you continue to be consistent about it, in the long run, they will benefit from this. So I've come to the end of this sharing, and I hope that you have picked up something useful from this video. In my next video, I will be sharing some simple concepts that you can help to prepare your child for primary 1. So do keep a lookout for it. You can follow us on Instagram or subscribe to our YouTube channel for more updates.